Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Spotlight here on Westfield Community Programming Channel 15, 89.5 FM WSKB, and our media sponsors at Agawam Media and Southwick Community Programming. Guy McLain is our host today. Hi, Guy. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good, and I'm Mark Auerbach. And Guy is in the studio. I am somewhere in cyberspace, and we got a great program for you today. First, we're going to chat about what's going on at the Athenaeum, and in the second part of today's program, we're going to have two of the musicians from MOSSO, the musicians of the Springfield Symphony Orchestra, to preview their concert coming to the Westfield Atheneum on February 23rd, which launches a three-part series of great chamber music right here in Westfield. So, Guy, how you doing?
Very good, and excited about the series coming up. I think it's going to be a great program. All three programs look very interesting to me. Good variety, and we'll have different musicians from the Springfield Symphony playing each concert. I just am really excited about it. The series last year was so successful; people really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to it this year.
And I will talk with Beth Welty and Sarah Sutherland, who are two of the three artists that are performing on the first concert. Both of them are officers at MOSSO and very much involved. On the second two chamber programs that are coming up, at least one member of each ensemble is a member of MOSSO. And they all perform, every musician has their own group of players and they do their own things. So the two other groups, the program in March and April, are members of MOSSO with their own ensembles. And I've never heard either ensemble before, but they're quite well regarded. So
And I
you
think
should
this
get
is
to,
an important thing to point out that musicians many times are in multiple groups, especially in the classical music world. You know, you can be in a string quartet, be in a symphony. Many of our musicians are in more than one symphony, so it'll be very interesting to hear these different ensembles that are coming to Westfield to perform.
I find it really fascinating. I don't know how they do it. One of the musicians from MOSO, who I work with a lot, is Bob Lawrence, and he's a violinist. He's based in New York. He performs in the Springfield Symphony. He performs with MOSO, where he's an officer. He performs in a couple of chamber music ensembles in New York and New Jersey. He plays in the pit of Broadway musicals, and I don't know how they keep track of their lives. I
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah, yeah. I hear there's all this new software that's available for scheduling, for planning your schedules, this sort of thing. And I think musicians that are in the classical music world really need those new software programs for scheduling because you're absolutely right. They're all over the place, performing in so many different groups. But that's kind of the reality of being a classical musician today. Is you have to put together different ensembles and put together different programs in order to make a living at it now. But it's amazing the variety that we have in New England and the quality. We've got a lot of really good musicians that are in the area playing in the various symphonies and various chamber music ensembles.
I know one conductor, David Kidwell, who's the maestro of the Holyoke Civic Symphony, who not only conducts and music directs there, he's got a couple of church gigs. He is in the pit at Goodspeed Musicals almost all the time. He's accompanying and music directing at Hart School. And every once in a while in a Broadway show or coming to the Bushnell, there's David in the pit playing keyboards. And I asked him once, how do you keep track of all this stuff and tote your music around? He said his car is like a music library with stacks of music for different things. And a lot of it has on his iPad. And he has to keep schedules all over the map just to know where he has to be at any given day. I couldn't do that. I don't have the strength.
Yeah, it's really amazing. But we are very much the recipients. In this region, we have so many opportunities. In addition to the Boston Symphony, which everyone knows about, and the Springfield Symphony right here in the Valley, the Albany Symphony is another really great ensemble. Hartford Symphony. We really are fortunate that within just a couple of hours drive in several different directions, you can hear some world class symphony orchestras in addition to all the chamber music that's available.
And I got to say, also at the UMass Fine Arts Center in Amherst and the Jorgensen Center at UConn Stores, they bring in major international orchestras. The Ukrainian Orchestra of Lviv is touring the country right now and doing performance stops at both the Fine Arts Center at UMass and Jorgensen Center at Stores. And so we do have some world class symphonic music here during the year, and then Tanglewood kicks in for the summer
Yes,
in terms
yes.
of large scale stuff. And
And speaking of Tanglewood, the last year Westfield Atheneum put together a trip to Tanglewood in July, and we plan on doing the same thing this year. We had a great time. It was a great concert. We had a great group of people who came on that trip, and so we're going to do the same thing this year. I think it'll be a lot of fun, and it's great for Westfield residents who don't like to drive at night, or just don't want the hassle of getting there and trying to deal with parking and this sort of thing. This is a really great way to go. You're going with people who have a similar interest to you, who enjoy classical music, enjoy going to Tanglewood. So you get to go along with that group. We have dinner together at a restaurant in the area, and then right over to Tanglewood for a wonderful concert. So people should keep that in mind, that very, very soon we'll be announcing what concert we'll be going to this summer. So I'm looking forward to that again.
yeah, well, I can't remember what day this program airs, but Tanglewood is planning to announce its season February 1st. And one thing that they have announced is that James Taylor will be back
Yes.
on July 3rd and 4th. Tanglewood you just can't beat Tanglewood for what it is. And whether you like classical music, or they generally do at least one pops concert a year featuring the music of John Williams, and they have all kinds of things. But it's the experience for me going out there and taking a picnic and sitting out on the lawn under the stars, or going on a Saturday morning to watch a Sunday rehearsal. To me, Tanglewood is just idyllic.
And here we are in the middle of winter, dealing with winter weather. A nice summer evening at Tanglewood sounds really nice about now. I'm looking forward to that part of it as well. Uh,
I don't know about you, Guy, but I do a countdown, and I think it's 16 weeks till our pool reopens. I'm not a winter person at all.
yeah, yeah, I have to agree. I don't like shoveling snow and dealing with the cold. Yeah, so yeah, yes.
So people that want to come in from the cold at the Atheneum over the month of February and stuff, what's up and coming and what's happening?
Well, we're really excited. We have a great exhibit that's up now. The art of Christine Hartman, who New York trained artist, New York for many years, lived in New York, and went to the Parsons School of Design and a couple of other colleges there, and studied art there. Also studied in Paris for a time, and she is on display now. The name of this exhibit is Objects of Desire, which I think is a very provocative title. And she does these wonderful still life paintings. She'll arrange these objects in very interesting ways on tables and in interior settings. And you know, at first glance, you just look at it and it's a typical still life. But as you look closer, there's so many interesting, there's a very mysterious aspect about these still lives. And so this is a really interesting show that I think everybody should get down to the Athenaeum to see, and that's up through the end of March. So we're really excited. People have already come in and responded and said how much they enjoyed this show. It's very different than several of the artists we've had in the past. So I think this is one thing that people should really get in for. Of course, then there's the concert on February 23rd. Then there's a lot of other programming that we run programs every week, almost on a daily basis. And so what I always recommend people to do is check our website, westath.org, to see what programs we're doing. That's the WESTATH, short for Atheneaum, westath.org. To see what programs we have, because we have so many interesting programs. Just to point out a couple of other things, we have a cookbook group that gets together and meets and talks about cookbooks and recipes and things like that. It's just a wide variety of programming that people can get involved with at the Athenaeum.
And the last time we did the Athenaeum Spotlight, Becky Blackburn was on. She talked about some of the school vacation programs that are available. So people that are wondering what to do with their kids when they're out of school in February, there'll be plenty for them to do at the Athenaeum.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I know, parents are always, especially in February, school vacation week, it's what do we do with the kids? And we've organized a lot of children's programs for that week. And so, I really recommend for parents to go to the website to check out those children's programs. We have a very active children's department, as well as an active teen program too. So it's a great place for children to come, check out books, participate in the programs, and just just hang out at the Athenaeum.
Sounds great. So how are you keeping yourself busy these days, Guy, when you're not at the Athenaeum? Or are you at the Athenaeum 24/7?
Yeah, well, sometimes I feel like I'm there 24/7, but no, I actually, I just got back from a trip to Philadelphia. I went down to see the Modigliani exhibit at the Barnes Foundation. Many people don't know about that. People have heard about the Philadelphia Museum of Art, which is one of the great museums in this country, and I went there as well. We had a great time. There's just so many great exhibits there. But the Barnes Foundation was founded by a collector who lived in Philadelphia in the first half of the 20th century, and he collected Renoir, Matisse, Picasso, Cézanne, a very large collection of Cézanne paintings, and that foundation is now just down the street from the Philadelphia Art Museum. Beautiful building too. They just built a new building about 15, 20 years ago. Beautiful building that houses his great collection of art. And they had this wonderful show of the art of Modigliani. Modigliani was an Italian artist who was active in Paris in the first 2 decades of the 20th century, and was close friends with Picasso and Matisse, knew all the artists that were hanging out in Paris in the early 20th century, and it was a great show. It really was worth the trip down there. So, and then while I was there, had to go to the Philadelphia Symphony for classical music lovers. If you've never heard a concert by the Philadelphia Orchestra in the brand new Kimmel Center, don't miss it. It's a beautiful, beautiful space, and it's filled. The interior of the auditorium is shaped like a violin, and it's all wood, and so the acoustics are just incredible. There's a very warm, rich sound, and so I went to one of the concerts of the Philadelphia Symphony while I was there. Great program. were reviving a piece that's not very well known. There's a French woman composer in the 19th century that's being kind of rediscovered, and they were playing her third symphony. It's very interesting. Tanglewood, Boston Symphony this summer at Tanglewood performed the same piece, the Louise Farranc's Symphony Number 3, and the Philadelphia Orchestra was doing it the week that I was there, and it's a wonderful piece. I think it compares very favorably to the symphonies of Mendelssohn and Schumann, composers who were composing at the same time. So it's nice to hear a new composer and also a woman composer. I think one of the reasons she's not better known is because she's a woman. And, for in the 19th century, it was considered, how could women write music? Well, this is an example of a composer who put together, who's a great composer, who wrote some beautiful music, and she's now being revived. The second half of the program was the great Brahms Piano Concerto Number 2, which is a massive, great work. It's a 4-movement concerto. Most piano concertos are 3 movements. Brahms wrote a 4-movement concerto, so it has the dimensions, the proportions of a symphony, but it's for piano and orchestra, and it was a beautiful piece. So it was a great concert. So I really enjoyed my trip to Philadelphia. It was a lot of fun, and like I said.
Yeah, you do know that the Philadelphia Orchestra comes up to Saratoga every summer, which is just maybe an hour past Tanglewood up the highway. The Saratoga Performing Arts Center is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful performing space. Yeah, I've gone to concerts there as well. A great place to hear the Philadelphia Orchestra. But I do recommend people to, put it on your list of things to do. If you're a classical music lover, you've got to get down and hear a concert in the Kimmel performance space, because it's just a beautiful place to hear music, and the acoustics are just extraordinary.
Did you do this as a day trip, or did you spend a few days there?
I spent 4 days there. Because I wanted to go to the museums there. There's also the Rodin Museum. If people are interested in the works of Rodin, the great sculptures he did, there's a wonderful small little building dedicated to Rodin, and that's also interesting. So there's 3 museums, literally within about a half mile of each other, right in the center of Philadelphia. That I wanted to go to all 3, so I planned a 4-day trip. Got down there on a Friday, spent Saturday in the Barns, went to a concert Saturday night at the Kimmel Center, then Sunday went to the Philadelphia Museum, and then the Rodin Museum. And the wonderful thing about this is Philadelphia, yeah, is a big city, but if you get in the center of the city, a lot of the hotels are very, very close to both the museums and the Kimmel Center. So I walked to everything. Once I got there, parked the car, walked to the museums, walked to the Kimmel Center for the concert. So it's really easy. Once you get into downtown Philadelphia, you can just park your car and take in all these places very easily.
That's great. I mean, I've only changed planes in Philadelphia or been through it on the train. I have never really spent any time there, but it's nice to know that there's some really good museums. We're going to take a real fast break to acknowledge our underwriters, and we'll be back with more Athenaeum Spotlight, so don't go away.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years. Specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Underwriting for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield, serving the youth of the Whip City and surrounding communities since 1969. For more information on the Great Futures Club for ages 3 to 5, happening weekdays, and the Club Teen Center for ages 11 and older, weekdays from 6:30 till 8 p.m. Go online at bcgwestfield.org or visit the club at 28 West Silver Street. The Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield. Great futures start here.
This is Ken Stomsky from Ken's Den on WCPC 15 and 89.5 FM, Tuesdays, 8 to 10.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to Athenaeum Spotlight, everyone. I'm Mark Auer, back here with Guy McLain. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. If you've missed a part of today's program or you want to watch it again or share it with friends, it's archived under WSKB Community Radio. Guy, in a couple of minutes, we'll be joined by two of the MOSSO musicians. Anything that you want to chat about in terms of some of the spring exhibitions or happenings at the Atheneaum, and again, remind everybody where to get their Atheneaum information?
Well, yes. In addition to the three chamber music concerts we have planned, and again, Christine Hartman is on display until the end of March. In April, we have our annual student art show, and what we do is we bring in student art from all 14 Westfield schools. There are 5 pieces selected from each school, and so it's very interesting to see what the students come up with. It's amazing. It's remarkable of the quality. We think of it as student art, but it's amazing what the students do. So that is the month of April, and then we'll have another artist coming in May. One of the things we're trying to do with the art gallery is really make it a center for regional artists. We are bringing in some of the best artists in Western Massachusetts. We're quite fortunate that there are so many artists here in this area. For instance, Christine Hartman, New York trained artist, but living here in Western Mass. And so we're going to continue to bring in these great gallery shows there. In addition to that, there's a variety of other programming that we have going on each week, book groups, and I think it's for people who read books, reading a book is kind of an isolated activity. One thing that makes it kind of fun is to be able to connect to other people reading books. And so we have book groups that people can join. So I encourage people to go to our website. That's Westath, WESTATH.org. And I just say check it out once a week. Because if you don't, you're going to miss something you wish that you had known about, because we have so many interesting programs that we have going on at any one time.
In a couple of minutes, as I said, we're going to talk with some of the MOSSO musicians, people that have never been to the Athenaeum before. Tell us where it is and where you park.
Well, it's right down on the green in the center in the downtown Westfield. It's on Elm Street. It's on the corner of Elm and Court Street. So it's very convenient. In fact, thousands of cars go right by the Athenaeum every day, and so it's very easy from anywhere in Westfield. It's very easy to get to, and I we really are a cultural center. We have art, music programs, in addition to all the library activities that we have. So it's a place where if you're not familiar with it, if you haven't been here before, it's a place that you really should come and check it out and see what we have to offer, because we're more than just a library. A lot of people say, oh, well, that's the public library. Well, that's true, but we are much more than that with our art and music programs. And in addition to that, we have a history museum. We have some really wonderful displays on the history of Westfield. Right now, we're featuring an exhibit on fashion, Westfield fashions in the 1920s, in the Roaring '20s, which is a really interesting exhibit. It's a chance to see some of the old dresses and jewelry worn back in that time period. We have history, we have art, we have music, and we have books.
Okay, one more commercial break here to acknowledge underwriters before the MOSSO musicians come. But one question, Guy. How fashionable was Westfield in the 1920s?
Actually, Westfield was very fashionable. Westfield was a thriving city back in that era. There was a lot of very active companies that were very prosperous at that time, and so there was people who really could dress up. In our dress collection, we have quite an extensive dress. We have over 160 dresses from the Victorian era all the way through the 1920s, 30s, all the way up in the 50s, and it's amazing the quality. Some of the really fashionable dresses that were worn by Westfield residents from the 19th century all the way into the 20th century. So yes, Westfield was a very fashionable spot in the 1920s.
So there could have been, a fashion magazines for the people of Westfield at that time.
Yeah. Well, people who come in to see this exhibit and see the dresses we have on display are just impressed. They're beautiful dresses. They really are very representative of the styles of the 1920s, and they're really beautiful. And they've been beautifully preserved. So for anybody who's interested in fashion, you got to come see this exhibit.
Okay, we're going to take a quick underwriter break, and we'll be back with more Atheneaum Spotlight. Don't go away.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Support for community radio on WSKB provided by Westfield Electroplating. Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to Atheneaum Spotlight, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach here with your host, Guy McLain. And for the next half hour, we're going to get to chat with two of the musicians from MOSSO, the musicians of the Springfield Symphony Orchestra, who are launching the 2023 season of chamber music at the Westfield Atheneaum. We have the violinist Beth Welty and horn player Sarah Sutherland. Both of them not only are instrumentalists and performers with MOSSO, they're also members of the MOSSO's orchestra committee and have served in a role of helping to build MOSSO as an institution. And this particular concert that they're doing with the third person named Elizabeth Scavish, who's a pianist, to open the Westfield series. They will be taking on the road later this year to one of the major summer music festivals in Western Massachusetts. And we can't tell you which one and where and when quite yet. But if you think of the Atheneaum as a Broadway tryout house for a big musical, then this is the tryout for a summer gig for this ensemble. So Beth Welty and Sarah Sutherland, it's great to see both of you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
So Beth, tell us what's on the program that people can expect to hear in Westfield on February 23rd.
Yeah, so these are going to be 3 horn trios, and horn trio does not mean three horns. Horn trio means, in our world, it means trio for horn, violin, and piano. And so we've got three really wonderful pieces. And forgive me, Sarah, you can help me if I don't say the name right. Duvernoy is the first composer. Is that how we say it?
Duvernoy, I think.
French composer who I did a little research. His dates are, he was born in 1765, died in 1838. So he was from around the time of Mozart and Beethoven. He was a contemporary of them, and actually was a professional French horn player as well. And I don't know if you knew this, Sarah, he taught at the Paris Conservatoire. So yeah, so he was very accomplished horn player. So we're going to start with his horn trio. And it's a kind of a short piece. So in the classical style, it definitely is of the world of Beethoven and Mozart, I would say. And then we're going to go to 20th century. I cannot pronounce this composer's first name. I'm not even going to try, but he's a Norwegian composer by the last name of Madsen, born in 1940. And he wrote a beautiful horn trio. And then we're going to finish with the granddaddy of them all, the greatest of all the horn trios, which is by Johannes Brahms.
I was hoping that you'd do the Brahms horn trio, because that's one of my favorite pieces. I love that piece, so I'm really excited about that. And I think many Brahms scholars consider that one of his finest works, one of his masterpieces. So that should be really exciting. But I'm very interested in the. You said Madsen is the last name of the. You said he was born in 1940, so he's.
Yes.
When was the piece written? Do you have the dates on that?
I'm not sure. Do you know, Sarah?
I couldn't find any dates on when it was written. There actually wasn't that much information on the internet that I could find out about him.
Yeah.
I think his first name is Trygve Madsen.
Uh-huh.
So,
and where is he from? And how did you find this piece? I'm curious about that.
well, I think actually Beth discovered it. We were kind of trying to. Our initial thought was we want to play the Brahms, and then we were kind of thinking, well, what else can we put with this program to kind of fill it out and with the same instrumentation? And Beth was doing some research, and she emailed us the Madsen. She's like, I found this one. It sounds so great. I really love it. What do you think? And I listened to it. I was like, this is so cool. It's jazzy. It's so interesting and nuanced, and it's so it's really, really special. So I can't wait for you guys to hear it.
And I like the fact you're playing pieces from 3 different centuries. And I especially like the fact that you're doing something contemporary. I think so many people who come to classical music, they don't realize there's a lot of really great music being written right now, or been written very recently, and yet it seems like that doesn't get performed that often because people are not familiar with it. So it's kind of hard to perform. I know for music groups, you've got to have things that people know to kind of sell the program. But I think it's great that you're playing a 20th or 21st century. I don't know when it was written exactly, but that's really nice to be able to show people there's really interesting music still being written now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And this is very accessible music. It's as Sarah said, there's a lot of jazz influence in it, and I also can hear a lot of Ravel. Actually, I think he likes these really rich harmonies. So I think the audience is going to love it. It's a gorgeous piece, and it really exploits a lot of the different colors. All 3 of these pieces exploit the colors that you get when you mix a wind and a string instrument in a chamber group. Because I have a string quartet and I love playing in it, but I think that mixing the timbres of these different instruments is part of what makes it so special.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a question for both of you. I know you perform together in large ensembles in MOSSO, Springfield Symphony. Have you performed with this trio? Is this the first time this trio's performed together, or have you done other things together before?
No, it's the first time that the 3 of us have come together, and I think the idea kind of held because we were trying to figure out a 4th program, or another program to go at the Atheneaum, and I was kind of hoping, I was secretly plotting that to kind of put the Brahms on there, because it's such a great piece, and it's really kind of one of those that, it's not a traditional or instrumentation, so it's not put on a lot of stuff, and so I was kind of trying to plot so that Beth and I could secretly sit there and kind of get our big Brahms moment, and so that was really how it got born, was from the piece. I was thinking, well, Beth and I are sitting here talking why we both play the instruments, we could play this trio, and we kind of just we found a great pianist, and it's just so it kind of came out from that.
Together, and I have to say, we've been rehearsing, and I feel like we're just very compatible musically, and I think Johnny's going to really enjoy it.
Yeah,
people wonder.
I've been enjoying it.
Yeah, people ask me, how much do you rehearse it, or do you just sit down and do it? And I know that the last orchestra concert at Symphony Hall, there were 4 rehearsals before the performance. For this trio, how much rehearsal time do you get before you perform at the Athenaeum?
It's going to be more than 4 rehearsals. We've already done, I guess, 3. Have we done?
3, I think.
We've done 3.
And we would have had 4, but unfortunately I came down with COVID last week, so we didn't have the 4th one.
But we will. I'm guessing we're going to have at least 6 or 7 rehearsals, if not more. Chamber music is a lot more labor intensive. Not the symphonic music doesn't take a lot of work, because you have to show up at the rehearsal prepared to work with the conductor. But like, we're the conductor now, right? We're the people that have to make the musical decisions. And, so there's way more responsibility for each musician than when you're playing in an orchestra, where you're trying to fit in, basically. And that's not what we do with chamber music. We're trying to, we do fit together, but not as, particularly for me as a string player. Like Sarah's a soloist in a way in the horn section, because she's the only person who plays her part. Yeah. But for me, I'm in a section where there's 12, 14 people playing the same thing I am. So it's a different level of responsibility in a certain way.
And I think pieces like the Brahms piece, I can imagine you'd need more rehearsals. Because that the subtleties, the complexity of Brahms chamber music is really quite amazing. And I'm sure that's quite a process. Just with that one work, you'd have 2 other works you're performing as well, but just that one work would require a lot of not only just practicing, learning the parts, but making it all fit together and gel, and finding the right balance and this sort of thing. Isn't that kind of the case that you experienced with that?
Yeah, I would say, luckily for both of us, all 3 of the people in this trio have played the Brahms before.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I've done it a couple times, although it's been years. And Sarah, you've played it.
Yeah, but again, that was probably, I think it was, 10 years ago. So.
Yeah, again, because we don't get to play this piece that often. It's not that much.
It's probably hard to put together this combination, to play that. Yeah, it's a piece I love, but I can't remember the last time I heard it performed in a live setting. I think it must have been like 2 decades ago at least. I heard it at a festival in Western New York State many years ago, but that was probably 20 years ago. So it doesn't get performed that often.
No, it doesn't. And it is, you're right. It's an absolutely great piece. And, I also play a lot of Brahms chamber music, like the piano trios and quartets, which get done way more often. This is every bit as good. It deserves played more.
So people that are listening may have seen both of you on Art Speak before, or maybe seen you at a Springfield Symphony concert. Because of the nature of the work that you do, you perform with a lot of different groups. So besides MOSSO and the Springfield Symphony, Sarah, what other ensembles do you perform with?
So the Springfield Symphony is the only orchestra that I have a contract with, that I'm a contracted member of. All the other work that I have is just they call because they need extra people, or people can't make concerts. So it's kind of what we call freelance work. But recently, I've been playing with the Pops. I play with Boston Symphony sometimes when it's really lucky. And I actually play with a really cool group called the Boston Modern Orchestra Project. We call it BMOP, where we play a lot of modern music. And
I have several. I have several of their recordings. It's a great group.
It's so much fun, and actually, it's so cool to play with them and play all these different kinds of music, and I really enjoy it. My mathematical brain especially enjoys all that stuff.
Yeah, and what about you, Beth? I mean, you have a string quartet that opened, or actually premiered, the MOSSO series at Westfield Atheneaum. But what are some of the other things that you do when you're not doing MOSSO and the Springfield Symphony?
Sure, and I'm sorry about that phone ringing in the background there. So I have also another chamber group called Kaleidoscope, which is a mixed chamber ensemble, which has violin, viola, cello, oboe, flute, bassoon, and piano. And actually the pianist who's playing with us is Liz Skavish, who is also in Kaleidoscope. That's the connection there. And then I do a lot of, I actually play a lot of stuff up in New Hampshire. So I'm concertmaster of the Nashua Chamber Orchestra. I'm principal second in the New Hampshire Philharmonic. And then I'm kind of like Sarah, I just kind of do a lot of freelance stuff here and there. Sometimes I'll sub with Rhode Island Phil or, different orchestras all around the region, to be honest with you.
So you guys really have to not only work with a lot of different musicians, but you basically have to sell yourself to all these organizations that need freelance help in order to carve out a music career.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yep.
We're traveling all the time.
Yeah. How many miles do you put on your car a year?
What do you do, Sarah?
Well, before COVID, it was a lot more. Since COVID, it's a little less. I think my car has gotten a little break. So, but before COVID, it was probably around like 20,000 a year.
Me too. Yeah, good 20,000 a year.
Now I think it's up probably around 12, but it's a little less, partially a way that I've made it a little less, it's nice to have a lot of things closer to home. So not quite as much driving. So.
At least you're both lucky in the fact that your instruments don't weigh a lot and you can throw them in the back seat of the car. Talking with one of the musicians who has a bass, and we interviewed him on this program. And he said, he flies to recitals. He has to book a separate plane ticket for the bass, or maybe it's a cello. And, that traveling is just so difficult, but it doesn't seem that it is for either one of you.
No, although I will tell you, it's gotten harder and harder to fly, even with a violin. I don't know what it's like with a horn, but I try not to anymore because you can't even find an overhead space anymore. So. But in general, it's easier than with a cello, that's for sure.
Yeah, when I fly, I know it's definitely easier, but I try to do everything I do to know the airline's boarding regulations so that I'm one of the first people on the airplane. I might even pay for one of those upgrades so that I can be sure that I'm on early so that there is overhead space. Just because, luckily my horn, it's kind of like a suitcase size, but the violin, it's longer, it takes up more space and people want to put stuff on top of it. And it's just, it's kind of, it can be a hassle. So I try to preemptively get there as early as I can so I can make sure that I kind of stake my claim.
Aren't you glad that the Westfield Athenaeum is just, as I say, down the pike from?
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break to acknowledge our underwriters that make Athenaeum Spotlight possible. And when we return, we'll be back with more Guy McLain, Beth Welty, Sarah Sutherland, and Beth and Sarah are musicians from MOSSO. They will launch the Westfield Athenaeum series in February. You can get detailed information on that at westath.org. Or you can learn more about MOSSO at SpringfieldSymphonyMusicians.com. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. We'll be right back.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Barnes & Noble College Bookstore in the Ely Campus Center, offering Westfield State t-shirts, sweatshirts, and gift merchandise, all of your academic needs, and offering textbook materials in new, used, ebook, and rental formats. Available at the bookstore on campus or online at westfieldstate.bncollege.com. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
I'm Mark Auerbach. Join me every Friday at 8 a.m. for Arts Beat, where you'll meet interesting actors, directors, designers, and musicians here in Western New England.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to Atheneaum Spotlight with Guy McLain. I'm Mark Auerbach, his cohort in crime. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. If you missed a part of today's program or you want to watch it again or share it with your friends, it's available archived on YouTube and WSKB Community Radio's YouTube page. We're chatting with two of the MOSSO musicians who launch the upcoming chamber music series at the Westfield Atheneaum, violinist Beth Welty and horn player Sarah Sutherland. They will be joined by a third musician, a pianist, for the opening program, which I'm kind of excited to hear. I am really very much looking forward to. And Sarah, go over that program one more time for people that are just tuning in.
So first we have a really kind of a nice, cute little 10-minute piece to open the program by Duvernoy, a trio for horn, violin, and piano. And then we have this really, really interesting piece that Beth found, and I'm so excited that she did. Trygve Madsen's trio as well for violin, horn, and piano. And then we finish the program, so the second half is all Brahms with the Brahms horn trio.
And one of the things that might be interesting to point out to our audience is one thing that's great about performing at the Westfield Atheneum is we have a very small auditorium. It seats about, I think maximum is 125, but that's really packed. We usually have 80 to 100 people there, but it's great for chamber music. It's hard to hear chamber music in an appropriate chamber because the original the name chamber comes from the idea of a smaller room. That was the idea of smaller groups of musicians to perform, and so I think that's another advantage of coming to these concerts is this space that we have here. It's great acoustics. All the musicians who've performed there in the past were really happy with the acoustics, and so I think that's another extra treat to hearing these three concerts at the Atheneum. It's a really nice performance space for the musicians.
And we should also say that if you buy a ticket to this concert, you can the concert's at 7. At 6 o'clock, Guy McLain will be doing like a pre-concert chat about the music. So the pre-concert chat is free to ticket holders. It's kind of a bonus. And I know that there is a pricing option available that you get a discount if you buy all 3 concerts.
Yes, each ticket, and that's another thing that's really nice about what we're doing. We're offering this at $25 a ticket for single tickets, which is really inexpensive when you consider. I've been hearing about some of the Pops concerts that Miley Cyrus. People are paying $700 for a ticket. So $25, what a bargain! But if you buy all 3 tickets together of the series, the 3 series, we're giving a $10 discount. So rather than being, if you bought them separately, it'd be $75. You're getting for $65. So we're encouraging people to buy the whole series, but each concert's only $25, which I think is a real bargain there. Really, really nice for people to be able to come out and hear chamber music and not have to spend a lot of money doing it.
Yeah.
And it's a great thing for Westfield and for the surrounding communities because Westfield has always had this commitment to the arts for being a small city. They've got a great Atheneum. They've got other music programs, community theater. And for a city its size, Westfield has a really vibrant arts community. And it's great that MOSSO and the musicians of the Springfield Symphony Orchestra are active participants in that kind of program. So it's a real feather for MOSSO and a feather for the Atheneum in Westfield for these concerts to happen and take place. So I can't emphasize enough how much they need to be supported.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. And I've been in the orchestra quite a long time. Sarah's quite a bit younger than I am, but back in the good old days when we played at Stanley Park in the summers, I have such fond memories. So I feel very attached to Westfield for that reason too.
Yeah, I wish we could bring those back. Would they be great to be able to have those again?
Oh, they were wonderful. They were so much fun.
Yeah, Stanley Park is such a great setting. It's it's a wonderful place to play. Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
It was amazing. I mean, I have never been involved in a concert series before, like Stanley Park and the Summer Pops, where you'd have 10,000 people showing up with their picnics. It was different than Tanglewood. It had a completely different vibe, but they'd come out to Stanley Park and the orchestra would play primarily pops. They might throw a little classical piece in there now and then, but there was one program where they featured a couple of singers that had grown up in Springfield and gone on to professional acclaim nationally. One was the cabaret star Jane Schechter, and the other was Carol Hahn, who had gone on to perform. And talk about the excitement that people had and how much they felt that the Springfield Symphony in Westfield belonged to them. So I certainly hope that people in Westfield think that MOSSO belongs to them too, because it's, there's always been such a great relationship between the musicians and the people of Westfield.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I hope this will be the start. Well, we already started it, but this will go on for years, because I think it's as you're saying, Guy, it's a great venue. My quartet played there last year. We love the space. I love the proximity to the audience, because they were. That's the way you should do chamber music. You're absolutely right. They should feel like they're like in someone's living room almost. It should be that intimate. And I think it's a different kind of excitement. I mean, of course, I love playing in a big symphony too, and that's a different kind of energy and excitement for an audience in a big hall. That's great too. But if you haven't ever experienced chamber music, I highly recommend it, because you really feel like you're almost part of the group in a way, because you're just so close to it.
And it allows you to, the musicians can interact with the audience in a much more interesting way. Musicians can talk about the pieces in a way that's hard to do in a symphony concert, and I think that adds an extra element to it. The connection with the audience must feel nice for the musicians, as well as I think the audience really appreciates that interaction.
Yeah,
Sarah,
absolutely.
do you, a question for Sarah. You play with chamber groups and orchestra. Which is more of a challenge for you?
I would say chamber. Chamber is definitely more of a challenge. Like Beth said, like playing the horn, I'm always one on a part. So I do have my own part. So it is like, you have to show up and be prepared and know your part, because no one else is going to lead you where it's going to go. But doing chamber music, I just feel so much more exposed. Being in the back of the orchestra, it kind of gives me a little comfort. Like people are in front of me, there's space, like I can kind of hide if I need to, or just metaphorically hide. But in chamber music, I mean, like Beth was saying, you're leading it, you're creating the music, you're directionally choosing where to go, where to lead, what to do, how these intersect, like all of this kind of stuff it's up to you. When you're in an orchestra, there's a conductor who's kind of helping you with this journey and more or less like helping everybody kind of figure out their place. But it's just, I mean, it's Beth, me, and Liz figuring out where all of this stuff goes. And I do play in a brass quintet. I have a brass quintet here in Boston, but I mean, violin and horn and piano, it's so much, it's so special. Like Beth was saying, playing with the same instruments in your family. So me playing with all the brass, it's kind of more homogenous, and it's very easy to blend and to create a cohesive sound. And with violin, horn, and piano, I notice I have to be doing a lot of things like timbrally to change my sound so that it matches the piano or it matches Beth and it kind of fits in more. And it's more intricate in the process of playing it. And I really enjoy it though, because it gives me my creative freedom that sometimes I really miss in the orchestra, and just in general.
And Beth, what about, do you prefer big orchestra to chamber music when you're performing, or are they both challenges?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I'm glad I have both in my life, because like in one of my orchestras, we're going to be playing Mahler First Symphony. It's nothing like the rush of playing in a big Mahler symphony. But I couldn't imagine my life without chamber music. And I've been doing chamber music since I was in my 20s. Like, that's been a very integral part of my life. And I think actually it makes me a better orchestral musician because, you know, like Sarah and I have both been saying, that when you have to be responsible completely for a performance, you know, we make all the creative decisions. We're going to decide where the phrase goes. You know, when you're in an orchestra, the conductor's going to tell you, okay, well, I want you to phrase to here or whatever. We have to decide that. And so we're thinking about music in a very, you know, intricate way, so that when I go to play in the orchestra, like, you know, I just feel like I'm a better musician because I play a lot of chamber music. And so that makes me a better orchestral musician. And I'm able to take direction because I've thought about these things too. So when the conductor wants to talk about phrasing, I think about phrasing all the time in my chamber music.
Beth and Sarah and Guy, we're out of time, but I want to thank Beth and Sarah, who are the musicians of MOSSO, for joining us today on Athenaeum Spotlight. Go to the Athenaeum's website, westath.org, to learn about this concert and the other two on the MOSSO Athenaeum series this year and get your tickets in advance. Peter Coles has been our chief engineer today. Guy McLain and I have been chatting with Beth Welty, violinist, and Sarah Sutherland, horn player for both MOSSO and the Springfield Symphony Orchestra. And they will be launching this program at the Westfield Atheneaum before it goes to the Summer Music Festival. So you want to see something first before it goes somewhere else. This is your opportunity. If you missed a part of today's program, you can catch it again on YouTube, on WSKB Community Radio. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks with another Athenaeum Spotlight. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Who's the pretty lady, Scotty?
Her name's Lavender.
Where have you been hiding her?
Oh, well, I've got to keep some secrets here and there now, don't I?
And a fine secret you were, little lady. My name's Mitchell Owens. My name's Leroy Trout. We're mighty pleased to see the secrets out and about.
Look at them over there, acting like they've never seen a girl before. Like they haven't eaten for a week, and she's a big old juicy steak. Certainly not rare, for heaven's sake. Don't you think she's common? Don't you think she's cheap?
She's probably kissed 1,000 boys and wants to add ours to the heap.
Well, she better keep her hands to herself.
Her color isn't real. I'm sure she's been using that blondine stuff. Well, look at Mitchell clapping like a seal.
And look at Mr. Trout leave.
More than I can take.
Well, I've surely seen enough.
When you get bored with Scotty, let me show you how to really cut a rug.
Hey, I saw her first. I want my chance.
Now, boys, this isn't a tug of war. Let's dance.
Let's dance.
Come on, let's dance.
Boys are so silly sometimes.
Ladies like you make us silly. Got a girl on my arm. Never knew a creature could be so charming. But for now, take it slow. We've got time.
Here's a boy I just met. When I go, I know I will not forget him. But for now, here I am. We've got time.
Listen, can't you hear my heartbeat? To the rhythm of the dancing feet. Life is sweet, and you know I never felt so clever, never so alive or so complete. With the one I adore in this world, nobody could ask for more than what we've got. Such a lot, we've got time.
Soon I'll get my big chance. When he takes a breather, I'll grab a dance and make a date. It's not late, I've got time.
What do boys see in that? Got no poise, the boys like it all. Tomcat, he'll have his kicks, but I got waist. I've got mine. Hey there, notice how the air sways in rhythm of piano plays. Couples gaze, and you realize it in their eyes of eyes, not to set the room ablaze.